Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. This week we are continuing our jump into the Nine Hells. We're talking about Glasya, the daughter of Asmodeus. Glasya, which I might be mispronouncing greatly, is the daughter of Asmodeus, making her the princess of Hell. Now, this does play into a lot of what she does. She definitely wields this as a weapon. And it is very intricate that she purposefully does this, because nobody wants to outright go after Asmodeus. They all want to take over from Asmodeus and put him down, rest assured. But nobody wants to go on all-out war with him, because he's too powerful. He's the only... We'll get into that more when we discuss him particularly. But Glasya uses this to her advantage, and definitely wields being the daughter of Asmodeus as a weapon. Before we get really deep into it, we just want to take this moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for everybody supporting the channel. And if you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, the link is in the description, as well as the link to our live stream game that we're a part of on Wednesday nights. Check us out there, and check us out on our WoW channel that we started up. All that is in the description. With that out of the way, let's jump right back into the video. Now, Glasya, or Glasya, which is probably the closer pronunciation, appears as a 9-foot-tall, black-haired figure, similar in form to a succubus. So she's very, very attractive and very beautiful. She was well built and of an unearthly beauty that remained undiminished by small horns, large leathery wings, and a forked tail that gave her away her diabolical origins. Notably, her skin was of a copper hue, itself not extremely unusual trait for humanoids, but made prominent by its more metallic appearance. She was adorned with jewels, clothes, and various finery of incredible expense. She loved this lofty, noble, dressed to their nines, jewelry, fanciful dress. That is really a big part of Glasya. And naturally, if you're someone like me, you already kind of hate her guts. But trust me, she gets so much worse. Now, Glasya's personality definitely puts the nail in the coffin. Glasya was perhaps the least predictable of the archdevils, with a reputation for capriciousness and a history of whimsy and mischief. She took pride in her nonconformity and openly flouted the norms of hell at her leisure, breaking tradition while bending the rules. Surprising others with unexpected gambits was a source of delight for her. And even before she became an archdevil, she was somewhat rebellious and defiant, moving between courts as the mood struck her. So again, with that text, what they're really saying is the rules don't apply to Glasya unless she feels like they apply to Glasya. Moving between courts is a very rare thing, because the other archdevils tend to hate each other and are all kind of working together out of force, because they're all ambitious to their own end. They all want to rule the Nine Hells. They all want more power. They don't want each other. So having someone go in between all of them is not something that would be safe. But as the text continues, despite her often contrarian moves, Glasya was no less cruel than her other diabolical denizens of hell. Her style of torment often had a verbal element. She delightfully informed those she lured into hell of their impending doom, and vividly described the horrors awaiting those who crossed her. She was also articulate, combining subtle mockery, verbal games, and cruel teasing, and noble snobbishness to toy with those at her mercy before she grew bored and sent them off to be tortured. Her sadism extended to the physical, as she extracted much joy from watching her victims suffer cancerous disease. The only thing her lordship changed was the increased openness with which she expressed her twisted desires. So, Like, that's kind of what makes me like her. I know it's not necessarily the finer point, but one of the really, really cool things about Glasya is that she's a wild child. Like, she's unpredictable, and her whims kind of dictate everything. She has such a powerful backing from her father that she goes above and beyond whenever she feels like it. But if you cross her, if you are insane enough to get in her way, would cause her issues or problems, the suffering that she'll inflict on you, and the verbal onslaught, just twist that knife just a little bit better. And then eventually, she'll get bored of you and forget you ever existed. And then throw you just to be tortured until the end of existence. Forgotten and suffering. That's what makes Glasya so, like, important and exciting. She's definitely one of those entities in the world you do not want to mess with. And if you catch her ire, if she thinks you're interested or you're interesting, oh, she'll get you. There is just very few things you can do to stop her. Glasya's sense of aesthetics belied her inner corruption. As Princess of Hell, her equal parts lovely and loathsome. She had a disturbing love of beauty, sparing those she found appealing and refraining from killing captured servants of good. Those that seemed open to her attempts at seduction, conversely, she couldn't tolerate the hideous appearance or mewling whimpers of the lemurs. She used the corpses of the hag contest to create a domain of achingly pleasant places and gardens from contrasting foundations of ugliness and decay, and made some of her victims enthrallingly beautiful while turning others into suffering mockeries of life. Like the realm that reflected her, Glasya's enchanting surface level disguised a truly rotten core. Now, the hag countess they're referring to used to rule her lair of hell. So, Malbolge is a very interesting layer of hell. It's just so unique. So it's the 6th layer of hell, right before Malodamini. And the way it's kind of made is on the outskirts is like lush and vivid life. And once you get out of that outer rim, it's a desert composed of the body parts of the previous ruler of that level. So understand that it has like bone structures that look like rib cages, labyrinths full of like deepening losses and turns and twists made of her intestines. There's ivory mountains made of her teeth. Like there's long stretches of land that look like her hair is being pulled out from the ground. There's deep crevices where the organs would be that are prisons. Her fingers kind of encompass the major city where Glasya stands, and it's like it's all bone constructs that like spire out into the sky. It is weird. It is really like a desert human. Like it's very, very strange. And considering the power that hags have, and one that would rule over a level of hell, understand that is infused in everything. The water is rotten. The poisonous. There is nothing safe to eat or drink there. Like it is a terrible, terrible place. So much so that Malbolge is the prison of hell. All those who are judged and found guilty, those who got caught rebelling against the law, those who got problems in the order of hell, all go to Malbolge. And there, they suffer dependent on how Glasya decides they suffer. those who have personally harmed her go into the towers of pain, where the worse you harmed her, the higher up you go on that tower, and the more you suffer. There are just like hanging cages that dive deep into the ground and crevices of the stone, and sliding rocks fall on them constantly. Like it is really hell's prison, which is wild. What makes Glasya a very fitting devil is Glasya's ability to manipulate, and it's almost on a level unfathomed by by others. So the text reads, much like her cruelty, Glasya's propensity for concocting sinister schemes was inherited from her father. Her ambition was stymied by her relationship to Asmodeus, and Hell's own criminal mastermind had demonstrated a willingness to cross any line for power. She was an intelligent manipulator, possessing abundance of conniving guile needed to exist in Hell. Glasya owed her continued survival to her ability to deflect suspicion and insulate herself from blame, typically having her allies serve as scapegoats. Despite her uncaring demeanor, her sycophants often willingly sacrificed themselves for her. Glasya knew how to invoke sympathy even in those fighting her, and used seduction, deception, and even honesty to win allies for her cause. She preferred to talk rather than directly confront, make allies rather than more enemies, and was quick to show her attackers the error of their ways. Now this is so great, because no matter the circumstance, Glasya had an army of people that she would throw under the bus and force to take blame for her. Almost like a cult leader. That kind of severe level of devotion that her people have for her. And I say her people very loosely, because they were seduced into going down there. They were forced, tricked, corrupted to go down there. But they developed such a sycophant idealism behind Glasya. It's one thing to trap someone, to lie to someone, to corrupt someone. It's another thing to have that person worship you for doing that. Maybe it's a power play. Maybe some of them are lying, but they're willing to die for her. And that's not something you can really lie about. Now, the only other person that's really capable of doing that, or having that kind of level of manipulation, is Asmodeus. But I guess the apple didn't really fall far from the tree on that one. We know Glasya is the daughter of Asmodeus, but nobody really knows a lot about her mother, Bensozia. Now, Bensozia isn't really depicted with a lot of lore to her particularly, but we'll cover her more when we speak about Levistus. And the reason why I say that is Levistus is another lord of one of the hells, and it is believed that he had something to do with Bensozia's death. And Glasya violently has admitted that she intends to kill Levistus. Now, part of this came about during the Reckoning, which is, again, something we are going to cover. But despite the rumors as to why Levistus is involved or how he's involved, and Asmodeus and Glasya's circumstances regarding that, there is something to note that Glasya didn't always hate her father Asmodeus. And considering how Glasya uses Asmodeus' name to keep her safe, Bensozia had nurtured the hatred for Asmodeus in Glasya, constantly spewing venom into her ear about how evil and how hateful and how much Asmodeus should suffer. And that's really, really important, because the way Glasya kind of learned a lot about manipulation is the way Bensozia kind of fostered that hatred and manipulated her. Because Bensozia treated her better than you would imagine, being an entity that lived in the hells. But Bensozia took every opportunity to plant that seed of Glasya eventually needing to kill and supplant her father as the ruler of the 9 hells. So like all other archdevils, Glasya is no different in the fact that she wants to rule the 9 hells. And this all started with her mother, who died in cohorts with Levistus, the nature of which we'll cover later, but a specific hatred for Levistus and a real series of enemies built during the Reckoning. Glasya is very unique in that she only has one devil that she's friends with, one archduke, Fierna, which we'll cover next. With all that said and done, we're going to bring this video to a close. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. Definitely hit that like and subscribe button. Tell me about your experience with the 9 hells. We'd love to hear about your opinions and what things you like. And if you like Glasya, definitely let me know. We'd definitely like to hear all about it. Big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Definitely jump on that and help support us. It really makes a very big difference. And a big thank you to our good friends at Critical Failures for allowing us to be part of the live stream game on Wednesday nights. Check us out there. And thank you for giving a spooky kid a chance.